We've all had friendships where we felt like we were giving more than we were receiving. Whether it's emotional support, time, money, or energy, feeling used by a friend can lead to frustration and resentment. But here's the thing, it's not about being a bad person or abandoning those you care about. It's about setting healthy boundaries and ensuring you're treated with the same respect you offer others. In this speech, I'll walk you through practical ways to stop being used by friends and how to protect your peace while maintaining healthy relationships. The first step to stopping being used by friends is recognizing when it's happening. Often, we overlook the subtle signs that a friendship is becoming one-sided because we value the relationship and don't want to face the discomfort of confrontation. However, it's important to be self-aware and acknowledge patterns that don't serve you. One of the primary signs is if you are always the one to initiate contact, whether it's texting, calling, or making plans. A balanced friendship involves both parties reaching out to each other, not just one person doing all the effort. When you're the only one making the effort, it's time to pause and evaluate whether you're being valued in the same way you value your friend. Another red flag is when the relationship feels transactional rather than based on mutual affection and care. If your friend only reaches out to you when they need something, whether it's emotional support, advice, or even financial help, it's a clear sign of imbalance. These kinds of one-sided exchanges can leave you feeling exhausted and taken for granted. If you begin to notice that your interactions are mostly about your friend's needs and never about yours, it's important to take a step back and reflect on the dynamics at play. Sometimes, friends who use you are not overtly malicious. Instead, they may have become accustomed to your giving nature and have started to take it for granted. This can be especially true in long-term friendships, where patterns become so ingrained that neither party thinks twice about the imbalance. You might find that your friend doesn't seem to notice or care about the toll their actions are taking on you. If your friend doesn't seem to notice when you're drained, it may indicate that they are too focused on their own needs rather than being attuned to yours. Another sign is when your friend only seems to come around when things are going well for them. They may seek your support when they're struggling or need something. But once things improve in their life, they disappear. This kind of behavior can make you feel like you're a backup plan or someone to turn to only in times of crisis. True friends will make the effort to connect with you, not just when they need something, but in good times and bad. When you're always the one giving, it can feel as though you are being used for your emotional labor. Sometimes the emotional manipulation is subtle. You might feel guilty for not helping them or not agreeing to do something, even when it's clear that you should prioritize your own needs. For instance, your friend might guilt-trip you into doing something you're not comfortable with, like lending them money or taking on responsibilities that should be shared. These guilt tactics can wear you down and make you feel like you're constantly in a state of debt or obligation to the other person, even when the friendship isn't equally invested in your well-being. Another indicator is the constant demand for your time and energy. It can be tempting to think that because your friend is reaching out to you, they must value your time. However, when their needs become a constant presence in your life and begin to dominate your thoughts, it can lead to burnout. If your personal life and your own goals are being sidelined due to the ongoing demands of your friend, it's a sign that the relationship has become too imbalanced. Healthy friendships should allow room for both people to grow, pursue their passions, and take care of themselves without feeling weighed down by another person's expectations. It's also important to recognize how you feel after interacting with your friend. A hint: do you feel drained, frustrated, or undervalued after spending time together? Or do you feel uplifted and supported? When you consistently feel bad about a friendship, it's a sign that something isn't right. These feelings are not just passing emotions. They are your body and mind telling you that you're not receiving the same level of care and respect that you're giving. Trusting your instincts and acknowledging these emotions is a crucial step in understanding when you're being used. Finally, consider how your friend reacts when you set boundaries or need something from them. If your requests are met with resistance, manipulation, or avoidance, this is a red flag. Healthy friendships are based on mutual respect, meaning that both parties should be able to ask for help and support without feeling guilty or being rejected. Saurabh, if your friend doesn't respect your boundaries or dismisses your needs, it's time to reevaluate the relationship and determine if they are genuinely a friend or if they are simply using you for their own benefit. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful tools you have in preventing yourself from being used by friends. Without clear boundaries, it becomes difficult to protect your emotional and mental well being. Boundaries are essential because they define what you are willing to tolerate in a relationship. When you fail to establish these limits, you might find yourself agreeing to things out of obligation or guilt rather than a genuine desire to help. Having boundaries means you are actively creating space in your life for things that nourish you, not drain you. It's a way to protect your personal space and ensure that your time, energy, and resources are respected. The first step in setting boundaries is being clear with yourself about your limits. Reflect on what makes you feel uncomfortable or overwhelmed when interacting with your friends. Are there certain requests that you don't feel comfortable fulfilling? Do you find yourself saying yes to things that you really want to say no to? Understanding your own limits allows you to identify when someone is crossing them. Once you know your own boundaries, it becomes easier to communicate them to others in a way that's respectful and firm. It's also important to recognize that setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting people out. In fact, clear boundaries help build healthier and stronger relationships. By setting limits, you are teaching your friends how to respect you and your needs. For example, if you know you need time alone to recharge, it's important to communicate that to your friends instead of feeling obligated to always be available. When you are clear about your own needs, others are more likely to understand and respect them. Boundaries allow friendships to thrive on mutual understanding rather than guilt and resentment. Setting boundaries also means you have to be consistent. Once you establish a boundary, it's important to stick to it. If you give in to your friend's demands after initially saying no, it undermines the boundary you've set. This inconsistency can send mixed messages, leading to confusion about what is acceptable and what isn't, or saying. The more consistent you are in reinforcing your boundaries, the easier it will be for your friends to adjust to the new dynamic. Consistency builds trust, and it helps others learn how to interact with you in a respectful manner. At times, you may feel guilty about setting boundaries, especially if your friend reacts negatively. However, it's crucial to remember that setting boundaries is not about being selfish or uncaring. It's about protecting your own well-being so that you can be a better friend. True friends will understand your need for boundaries and will respect them. If a friend becomes angry or resentful when you set a boundary, it's a sign that they may be more interested in taking advantage of you than in building a balanced, healthy relationship. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and anyone who values you will understand that. Setting boundaries can also be empowering. It shifts the focus from pleasing others to prioritizing your own needs and desires. When you learn to say no without feeling guilty, you reclaim your time and energy. You start to take control of your own life, making decisions that align with your values rather than constantly bending to the will of others. This empowerment can help you develop a deeper sense of self-worth and confidence, knowing that you're actively choosing what is best for you rather than simply reacting to external pressures. One of the key aspects of setting boundaries is being clear and direct about your expectations. This doesn't mean being rude or harsh, but it does require honesty and transparency. For example, if you are no longer comfortable with loaning money to a friend or constantly being the emotional caretaker in the relationship, it's important to clearly communicate this to your friend. Instead of being vague or passive-aggressive, be assertive in expressing what you need and why. Clear communication prevents misunderstandings and ensures that both parties are on the same page about what is acceptable behavior. Finally, setting boundaries requires a mindset shift. It's about understanding that you are not responsible for someone else's feelings or reactions. If you say no to a request, it's not your job to make the other person feel better about it. Boundaries are about creating a sense of personal sovereignty. You are entitled to protect your own space, time, and resources without feeling the need to justify or apologize for doing so. When you embrace this mindset, you begin to value your own well being just as much as you value the friendships you have. Friendships you have. Learning to say no is one of the most difficult yet liberating skills you can develop in any relationship, especially when trying to avoid being used by friends. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that saying no makes us unkind or unhelpful, but in reality, saying no is an essential aspect of maintaining healthy relationships. It's not about being selfish, it's about respecting your own needs and limits. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your well being, you are saying no to yourself. Mastering the art of saying no helps you prioritize your own emotional, physical, and mental health, ensuring that you don't overextend yourself for others at your own expense. Saying no starts with understanding that your time and energy are valuable resources. We often say yes out of obligation or fear of disappointing someone, but this can lead to burnout and resentment. When you say yes to every request, you deplete your own reserves without replenishing them. Sadie, for replenishing them. It's important to remember that you have the right to protect your time, just as your friends have the right to protect theirs. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you are taking responsibility for your own well-being so that you can show up as your best self when you do say yes. In order to say no, you must first recognize the moments when you feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable with a request. It can be difficult to immediately identify these moments, especially if you are used to saying yes to please others. However, over time, you'll start to notice when a request feels like too much, or when you're agreeing to something out of a sense of guilt. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it's likely because it's asking too much of you. Learning to identify these signs early on will allow you to practice saying no before you become overwhelmed. It's important to know that saying no is not about being rude or rejecting the other person outright. You can still say no in a kind and respectful way. For instance, instead of simply stating, "No, I can't help," you can offer a gentle, honest explanation. You might say, "I'm sorry, but I'm feeling really drained right now and need some time to myself, or I've already committed to something else, and I can't take on any more." This allows you to assert your boundaries without feeling like you're being insensitive or dismissive. Learning to say no with grace helps preserve your relationship while protecting your needs. At first, saying no might make you feel guilty, especially if your friend is upset by your decision. Guilt is a natural response when you've spent so much time people-pleasing. But it's important to remind yourself that you are not responsible for how someone else reacts to your boundaries. A true friend will respect your limits and understand that your decision to say no is a reflection of your need to take care of yourself, not a reflection of how much you care about them, too. Over time, as you practice saying no, you'll find that the guilt starts to diminish and you'll become more comfortable asserting your needs. Another challenge in saying no is overcoming the fear of conflict. Many of us avoid saying no because we fear it will lead to tension or arguments. However, avoiding conflict by always saying yes only leads to resentment and stress in the long run. In fact, saying no can actually prevent conflict because it helps establish clear boundaries. When you communicate openly and assertively, it reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings and built-up frustration. Saying no doesn't create drama, it creates clarity, and that clarity can ultimately strengthen your relationships. You'll also notice that saying no can help you become more selective about the requests you choose to accept. It helps you assess whether a request is truly aligned with your values, interests, and energy levels. When you stop automatically saying yes, you give yourself space to reflect on whether or not you genuinely want to be involved. This allows you to prioritize the things that matter most to you, whether it's your career, your family, or your personal goals. Saying no allows you to be more intentional with your time and energy, and to only commit to what truly serves your overall well-being. As you become more comfortable saying no, it's important to practice it regularly. It doesn't have to be a dramatic or confrontational event every time. Rather, it should become a natural part of your communication style. In fact, practicing saying no in small everyday situations can help you build confidence for when bigger decisions arise. Start by declining small favors or invitations that you don't feel up to. The more you practice, the more you realize that saying no doesn't damage relationships. It strengthens them by establishing respect for your time and boundaries. One of the most empowering aspects of learning to say no is recognizing that it helps you align with your true self. Often, when we say yes to everything, we lose touch with our own desires and priorities. Saying no brings you back to your core values and helps you act in a way that is authentic to who you are. When you say yes out of genuine desire and alignment with your goals, it becomes a powerful tool for building meaningful connections. And saying no when needed ensures that you reserve your energy and attention for the things that are truly important to you, fostering a deeper sense of fulfillment in your life. One of the most important steps in stopping yourself from being used by friends is assessing the reciprocity within the relationship. Reciprocity refers to the mutual exchange of support, respect, and care between two people. In any healthy friendship, both parties should feel equally valued and supported. If you find that you are always the one giving, whether it's your time, emotional energy, or resources, and your friend rarely gives back, it's a sign that the relationship may be unbalanced. To truly assess reciprocity, you need to take a step back and examine whether your efforts are being reciprocated in a way that fosters a healthy dynamic. When you assess reciprocity, it's crucial to consider the emotional exchange as well. If you're constantly the one listening to your friend's problems, offering advice, and providing support, but your friend doesn't make the effort to do the same for you, it may indicate that they are using you for emotional labor. A one-sided emotional exchange can lead to feelings of exhaustion, frustration, and resentment. True friends not only lean on each other when times are tough, but they also celebrate each other's successes and offer support during difficult moments. If your emotional needs are being ignored while your friends' needs are prioritized, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. Physical and practical reciprocity also plays a key role in assessing the balance in a friendship. Do you find yourself constantly offering to drive your friend places, help them with tasks, or lend them money while they never offer to do the same for you? A friendship that relies solely on you doing the heavy lifting can be draining. Healthy friendships involve mutual assistance, whether it's offering a helping hand when needed, making time for each other, or offering something of value in return. If your friend only reaches out when they need something, without ever considering your needs, it's a clear sign of imbalance. Additionally, you should assess the frequency and quality of your interactions. Are your conversations and meetings based solely on your friends' needs and interests, or do they also engage with yours? If your friend never asks about your life, your feelings, or your experiences, it may indicate that they are more interested in what they can get from you than in being a supportive and interested friend. A reciprocal relationship should involve genuine care and interest from both parties. If your friend only reaches out when they need something, or if all your interactions feel one-sided, this could point to a lack of mutual respect and concern. Another important factor to consider when assessing reciprocity is how your friend reacts when you ask for help. True friends will offer support when you need it, and if they can't help, they will be honest and let you know. However, if your friend consistently refuses to assist you or avoids offering help when you ask, this is another sign that the relationship may be unbalanced. Reciprocity involves both offering and receiving support. If you are always the one asking for support and your friend never reciprocates, it could be a sign that they are taking advantage of your kindness. As you assess the balance in your friendship, Also, pay attention to the way your friend makes you feel. Do you feel valued and appreciated, or do you feel like a resource or an afterthought? In a healthy friendship, both parties should feel like equals who care for each other. If you constantly feel like you're giving more than you're receiving, it can lead to feelings of being taken for granted. You should never feel like your friendship is a one sided effort. If the relationship isn't making you feel valued and appreciated, it's essential to examine whether it's truly worth continuing. It's also helpful to look at the patterns that emerge over time. If you notice that this imbalance has been going on for a while, it's a sign that the behavior is ingrained and it's unlikely to change without intervention. Some friends may not even realize they are taking advantage of you, while others might be fully aware of the dynamic and continue to exploit it. Either way, recognizing these patterns is essential to understanding how much energy and effort you're putting into the relationship compared to what you're receiving in return. Finally, assessing reciprocity isn't just about looking for the immediate give and take. It's also about considering the long-term emotional impact. How does this friendship make you feel in the long run? If the relationship continually drains you without providing emotional fulfillment or mutual support, it's worth considering whether this friendship is worth investing in. Healthy friendships should make both people feel good, empowered, supported, and cared for. If you are consistently feeling depleted, it might be time to reassess whether the relationship is balanced or if it's time to set boundaries and protect your energy. One of the most important steps in stopping yourself from being used by friends is learning how to communicate your needs clearly. Often, we assume that our friends should automatically understand our needs or that they will notice when we're feeling overwhelmed. However, this expectation is not always realistic, and it can lead to frustration when our needs aren't met. Communicating your needs requires self-awareness, honesty, and the courage to speak up for what you need in a relationship. By clearly expressing your feelings and desires, you help create a more balanced dynamic where both parties understand each other's expectations. When communicating your needs, it's important to be direct and assertive. Instead of hinting or hoping your friend will pick up on subtle cues, make your needs known in a straightforward manner. For example, if you need more emotional support from your friend, express that clearly. I've been going through a tough time, and I need someone to talk to and lean on. Being direct ensures there are no misunderstandings or unmet expectations. It also sets a precedent for future interactions, as your friend will understand that you value honesty and openness in the relationship. It's also essential to communicate your needs in a way that is respectful and considerate of the other person. It's not just about what you want, but also about how you express it. When you communicate with empathy, your friend is more likely to respond positively and be open to helping. For example, you might say, I know you've been really busy, but I'm feeling like I need some support right now. Can we talk? This type of communication acknowledges your needs while also showing understanding and respect for your friend's situation. It's a way of fostering a two-way conversation rather than simply demanding what you need. In many cases, friends may not realize that they are not meeting your needs. It's important to recognize that communication is a two-way street, and it's possible that your friend is unaware of how their actions are affecting you. If you've been too passive or haven't expressed your feelings in the past, your friend may simply not know that you are feeling drained, neglected, or used. By communicating your needs, you're giving them the opportunity to understand and adjust their behavior. This can improve the quality of the friendship and allow both of you to feel more fulfilled in the relationship. When communicating your needs, be mindful of timing and context. Choose a moment when both you and your friend can engage in an open and calm conversation. Bringing up concerns in the middle of an argument or during a stressful situation can lead to defensiveness and miscommunication. Instead, find a neutral time when you can discuss how you feel without distractions. For example, you might say, There's something I'd like to talk about that's been on my mind for a while. I value our friendship, and I want to make sure we're both on the same page. Framing the conversation in a calm and constructive way increases the likelihood of a positive outcome. In some situations, you might find that your friend has difficulty responding to your needs or is unwilling to change their behavior. This can be especially challenging, but it's important to be clear about what you're asking for. If a friend continues to ignore your needs or even reacts negatively when you express them, it's essential to assess whether the friendship is truly reciprocal. No matter how much you care for someone, it's important that your needs are respected in return. If your friend disregards your feelings, it may indicate that they are not invested in the relationship in a way that is fair to you. Additionally, it's important to recognize that your needs may change over time, and it's okay to communicate these changes. For example, you might have different priorities now compared to when you first became friends. Maybe you're no longer able to offer as much time or energy as you did before, and that's okay. Life circumstances change, and so do the dynamics of friendships. Keep the lines of communication open and be flexible in expressing what you need at different stages of your life. This ensures that both you and your friend are always aware of each other's evolving needs, preventing misunderstandings from arising. Finally, communicating your needs helps build trust and transparency in your friendship. When you are open about what you need, it encourages your friend to do the same. A friendship where both people feel comfortable expressing their needs is a stronger, more resilient one. It reduces the likelihood of feelings of resentment or frustration because both parties know that they can rely on honest communication to navigate the relationship. By fostering this openness, you create a safe space where both people's needs are valued and addressed, leading to a more balanced and fulfilling friendship. Enabling negative behaviors is one of the most subtle yet damaging ways that friendships can become imbalanced. When you enable a friend's negative behavior, you are essentially reinforcing actions or attitudes that are unhealthy, disrespectful, or even harmful. This can be difficult to recognize, especially if you care deeply for the person involved. Enabling doesn't mean you are directly causing harm, but rather that your actions or inactions allow the behavior to continue unchecked. This can lead to a situation where your friend's negative behavior becomes a pattern and you find yourself constantly supporting them in ways that enable the dysfunction. The first step in stopping enabling behavior is recognizing when it's happening. This requires you to take a hard look at the situations in which you're helping your friend avoid the consequences of their actions. For example, if your friend repeatedly makes poor decisions and you step in to fix the situation every time, you are enabling them. You might feel that you are helping or showing support, but in reality, you are preventing them from learning from their mistakes. Instead of being a solution, you are simply allowing the cycle of negative behavior to continue. Understanding this distinction is essential for breaking the pattern. 10. So, another aspect of enabling negative behavior is allowing someone to take advantage of your kindness or generosity. This can happen when you constantly give in to a friend's requests, even when they aren't making any effort to reciprocate or show appreciation. By always saying yes to their demands, you create a dynamic where they begin to rely on you for support, even if they don't deserve it or haven't earned it. This fosters a sense of entitlement and can lead to an unhealthy relationship where you are giving far more than you're receiving. To stop enabling, you need to recognize when your kindness is being taken advantage of and set clear boundaries to protect your time and energy. Additionally, enabling negative behaviors often involves avoiding confrontation. Many people enable their friends because they fear conflict or don't want to upset the relationship. This might mean ignoring hurtful behavior, making excuses for your friend's actions, or downplaying the significance of their mistakes. However, avoiding confrontation doesn't lead to resolution. It just allows the negative behavior to continue. Confrontation, when done respectfully and assertively, can help your friend realize the consequences of their actions. It also establishes that you are not willing to tolerate behavior that negatively impacts your well being or the health of the relationship. One of the key signs that you are enabling is if you constantly feel drained or resentful of the relationship. If you are always giving and never receiving the same level of care, it's easy to fall into the trap of enabling negative behavior. The emotional toll of constantly fixing problems or smoothing over issues without any reciprocity can lead to burnout. Recognizing this imbalance is important because it shows that the relationship is no longer healthy. It's essential to stop enabling because it allows both you and your friend to grow and develop in a way that is healthy for both parties. Another way to stop enabling is by holding your friend accountable for their actions. Instead of taking on their responsibilities or making excuses for them, encourage your friend to face the consequences of their behavior. This doesn't mean you should abandon them, but it does mean that you should stop shielding them from the reality of their actions. For example, if your friend repeatedly makes excuses for their lack of follow-through on commitments, it's important to gently call them out and point out the impact of their behavior. You can express your concern in a way that encourages them to reflect on their actions without being judgmental, but holding them accountable is necessary for their growth and the health of the friendship. If your friend consistently relies on you for emotional support, financial help, or other resources without making any effort to improve their situation, it's important to stop filling that gap for them. Face them. Instead, encourage them to take responsibility for their own actions and find their own solutions. This might mean letting them face the consequences of their poor decisions, even if it's uncomfortable for you to watch. While it's difficult to see a friend struggle, it's through these struggles that they have the opportunity to learn and grow. By stepping back, you give them the space to take control of their own life and make necessary changes. Lastly, enabling negative behavior often stems from a fear of losing the friendship or not being seen as supportive. This fear can cause you to act in ways that are counterproductive, even when you know it's not good for either of you. However, true friends will appreciate your honesty and your willingness to help them grow. It's important to recognize that real support doesn't mean shielding your friend from the consequences of their actions. It means being there for them in a way that promotes their personal growth. By stopping enabling, you are showing your friend that you care enough to let them learn, evolve, and ultimately become a better person. One of the most effective ways to stop being used by friends is to surround yourself with like-minded people who share your values, goals, and perspectives. When you're around individuals who understand and support your boundaries, you naturally create an environment that fosters mutual respect and growth. Like-minded people are more likely to recognize your worth, appreciate your efforts, and contribute positively to your life, which helps prevent situations where you feel taken advantage of. By choosing friends who align with your values, you can create stronger, more authentic connections that don't leave you feeling depleted or used. Like-minded individuals share common principles and beliefs, which means that they are more likely to respect each other's boundaries and needs. When your values align with those of the people around you, it's easier to have honest conversations and express your needs without fear of judgment or conflict. For example, if you value mutual respect and honesty, you'll be more likely to find friends who will also prioritize these qualities. This creates a supportive network where you can be yourself and feel comfortable asking for help, knowing that your needs will be taken seriously and respected. Furthermore, being around like-minded people can boost your self-esteem and confidence.